Hey there. So this video is for our first decimals lesson in polynomials. This is going to be polynomials part 1. And I literally just finished writing this lesson. So if there are things wrong with it, we are about to find out in this video. Please stay tuned for directions if that happens. Hopefully it won't happen because it has been a long day. So we're going to start off with, we'll just go ahead and start in on it. And the first one, and I've got my notepad over here because I'm going to be clicking back and forth. Question 1 is pretty simple. We're going to graph that polynomial and do something. What are we going to do with it? Okay, we're going to adjust the window so you can see all the roots and all relative maxima and minima. Now that vocabulary is probably new, but you can also probably figure out what it means. You are familiar with the words maximum and minimum, meaning like most or least, highest, lowest. The on the end is the plural. So in the singular, we would say a maximum and minimum value. But if there's potentially more than one, we would say they are the maxima. They are also sometimes called the extrema, meaning the extreme point. So it would be a point that is higher or lower than the points around it, but not necessarily overall. And that's what we mean by relative. So let's click on over to here. And we're going to go ahead and type that in. So we have negative 7x to the 5th minus 10x to the 4th plus 30x cubed. This is so much fun. Plus 2x squared minus 30. Okay. And what I did when I wrote that was I wrote it intentionally so that when you graphed it, you would not see anything meaningful. Now, if you're doing this on a touch screen, you can probably just pinch in and slide and drag until you can see everything that you need to see. There we go. That is awful. That's really bad. And I'm wondering if I copied it right. But there you have it. Okay, so obviously they got super skinny. And what we're looking for, okay, so what you wanted to see in it. You wanted to see the root right there. I know that's the root because it's got the y equals 0. But I also wanted to catch the extrema. And you can't really see them. There are dots at them, though. So there's one right there and there's one right there. And I don't think we have any others. I think this levels off in a couple places, but it doesn't. I swear it did not look like this when I did it earlier, but maybe you're having better luck. Now I want to zoom in. So you're going to screenshot that, okay, or something like that, where you can see the roots and you can see those turnaround points. But I do want to zoom in so we can actually see what's going on there. Okay, so we can see what's going on and what we were looking at. There's that same point. That's what's called a relative minimum, meaning it's lower than the other points on the graph. So if I trace it, you can tell we're going down, 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 and that's the lowest point, and it turns around and goes up. But it's not the lowest point on the whole graph. And I know that because if I hop over here to the right, I can come up with points that are lower. Okay, so where I am right now, like the negative 215. Now, we can look up here, and there was another one at the negative 30, so we must almost be there. Right in there. Oh, I think it just levels off there. So that just levels off. But there's one right here. Okay. So there's one, and that's called a relative maxima or maximum because it is the highest point on that part of the graph. And you can tell the levels are going up and then back down. And then over here, it's not the highest point on the whole graph, though. So that is what. Now, I promise I did check that before I put it into the Desmos activity, but there you go. I mean, I did. I really did. Did I copy that right? Minus 10x to the 4th minus x squared minus 30. Well, it was 2x squared minus 30. Well, there you have it. So that was That was great. I'll love grading that. So anyway, you're going to screenshot what I had there, and that's what's going to go pasted into the comments. So I could do mine. This is where I wanted to click. So I had to zoom way out, and you really cannot see much, but there you go. We have that level off spot there, right there. And I'm going to screen grab that, not dimensional constraints. So, okay. And again, the point of this was the adjustment of the window. And I feel like it kind of backfired on me, but you know, we just don't sweat the small stuff. Okay. You still got the point. And of course the point is to like learn stuff. So there we go. Okay, now the next one is probably going to take us a little bit longer. In Desmos, we're going to highlight the positive intervals in green and the negative interval or intervals in red. And so we've done this before, so I am going to go through this a little bit faster maybe because we have covered this before in a previous lesson. So we have 1/5 x to the 4th minus 5x squared. And of course, my window is terrible. So there we go. All righty. Zoom in. All right, so positive. We know positive is going to be y is greater than 0, and we know negative is y is less than 0. And what were the colors? Positive in green, negative in red. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to green, and negative, we're going to go and change that to red. Okay, so we changed the highlighting, and again, we've done that before. But now we actually need to like restrict that because we don't want it positive and negative everywhere. So I need to find out where these points are. And the negative is going to be really dicey, okay? So positive, we can tell it's positive to the left of the -5. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my brackets and say x is less than -5. And we should see that match up. And then we have the comma, and we need to catch the number on the other side, which is +5. And so that would be x is greater than 5. And so now I've got my positive intervals done. It's a little hard to see that it's in the interval, but if I like go in, you can see if I zoom in up there, like yes. Now, here's where it's going to get weird. You might do something like this and say, okay, well, that means that the negative would be -5 is less than x is less than 5. And it looks like that is good to go. And for everything you can see, it is, except it's not, because of that number right there. At that number, the y value is actually not negative. So if I trace this function, okay, so I'm going to trace it here. See how we've got negative y values. Y is -13. Y is -21. Jump over here. Y is -6. Okay, y values are negative, but right there, y is not negative because 0 is not a negative number. So we actually don't want the 0 in there. So that's going to make this a little not as fun. So I'm going to state this as -5 is less than x is less than 0, comma, 0 is less than x is less than 5. Now, does that look exactly the same? Yes, yes, it does. Is it the same? No. And the reason you can't see the difference is because 0 is 1 point. And if you remember from geometry, points don't have any length or width or height or anything. Like points don't have that. So you can't see something that has 0 width. So it looks like it's a completely solid chunk of shading there, but it's not. Okay, and when you go to screenshot this, you do need to screenshot it as is. I will not give full credit if you don't show me this and you only show me the graph. That will not get you full credit, okay? Because the 0 does not actually belong, and we have to make sure that we take it out. So it's x is less than or equal, or less, sorry, -5 is less than x is less than 0. That does not include the 0, and like greater than 0, but what we're doing there is we're leaving the 0 out. And so that does need to be as is. So let's go back over here and paste in my screenshot. There we go. All right, now the next one is a click and drag. So categorize the following as positive, negative, or neither. And you can actually go back and look at your Desmos graph, okay? So we can see right here, the -5 is less than x is less than 0, or x is like that one. We just did that one. That's negative. And if I click back over up here, I can see x is less than 5 and x is greater than 5. So that's this one right here. Okay, so those you can get like straight from what we've done. Now the others are going to venture into the interval notation. And you could probably do some mix and match here. So for example, you have, what is this? This is actually backwards. So we've got to classify that. I think that's a mistake on my part. That's going to be, hi, we go. But I got to categorize that as a neither. So I think I meant to do I think I meant to switch the 5 and the -5 there. But I didn't. So like I said, I'm going to find issues. -5, -infinity to -5, 5 to infinity. That's this one. So less than -5 would be here. So this is positive. This one here, we have no business with the -31 point. Yeah, like that's not anything. So we're gonna put that in there. And then 0, none of our intervals were a 0 either, so that goes under neither. And I'll go in and I will switch the answer key on that, because the answer key is gonna mark it wrong. That is my fault. Unless, and this is where you're gonna like, I might go in and just edit the answer so that the answer is what I want it to be. So if I go in and edit that, in fact, I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to edit the problem. So if you don't have the sound up and you're watching this, too bad. So sad, you should have watched it with the sound up. But I'm going to go in and edit that. That was a typo on my part. That negative is supposed to be over there. So if you're following along, make sure that you're paying attention. And like this one should actually be negative. Should be -5 to 0 and 0 to 5. So I'm going to go and edit that one. Which problem are you on? Number 3. Edit problem number 3. Okay. So do not do what I did right now, because I obeyed by the laws of the typo. Okay, next one. In Desmos, the sum one is increasing in blue and decreasing in black. So 1/3 x to the third minus 5x squared plus 24x minus 40. And we're going to do increasing in blue and decreasing in black. All righty, let's go do that. So we have f of x is equal to 1/3 x to the third minus 5x squared plus 24x minus 40. That is, there we go. Okay, minus 40. So we're doing increasing and decreasing. So if I kind of re-center that, if I trace this, I'm increasing until I get right there. Then I'm going to be decreasing until I get right there. And then I will be increasing again. So increasing is going to be 2 different intervals. it is going to be when x is less than 4, because we're going to be going this way. So if I trace this, see how my x value is 3.3, less than 4, less than 4. So anytime x is less than 4. And then it's also going to be increasing over here once x is greater than 6. And you can see, watch, my x values are like 7.75. And so that would be x is greater than 6. And it is yelling at us because cannot use an inequality here. Okay. X is less than 4. X is greater than 6. There we go. And those need to both be blue. So let's go ahead and change those. So that needs to be blue. And this one also needs to be okay. Done. Turn it on. There we go. Now I can change it to blue. Beautiful. Okay. And then in between here is where it is decreasing, and we're going to be highlighting that in black, and that would be the interval in between, so anywhere from 4 to 6. So 4 is less than x is less than 6. Oh, and that one came out black for me, so yay. So we got the blue and the black, and we do have to do that in separate intervals. I'm just curious if it'll let me do it if we put it in brackets. So if we did x is less than 4, comma, x is greater than 6. Nope. It gave me a line, so that does not work. That was worth a shot. X is less than 4. X is greater than 6. And that needed to be blue, and this one came back as not blue, so let's redo that. There we go, and we've got our screenshot ready to go. And do give me the whole thing so that I can see it. And let's go paste that in, and we're trucking on through this. Okay, so increasing, decreasing. All right. Now, using interval notation, what is the decreasing interval for your graph in number 4? So the decreasing interval is the one in black, and this is a question asking you to convert that over to interval notation, which of course we'd be using the parentheses because the endpoints are not included. And so we would type something like this, 4 to 6. And we should get credit for that, maybe. Okay, because that's the interval. All right, next one is an evaluate question. And what I did here was I, on purpose, just gave you a hideous polynomial with fractions. Like, we don't want to evaluate that, even if we were good at it. And nobody's good at this because it's terrible. I also gave you lousy numbers to put in and a decimal in there because we